The wedding was supposed to be perfect. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, the guests murmured excitedly, and a soft string quartet played in the background. But for Emma, the young waitress standing nervously near the dessert table, it felt anything but perfect. She had been hired at the last minute to help at the extravagant wedding of billionaire Charles Whitmore and his bride, Victoria. Emma adjusted her apron and smoothed her hair, trying to stay invisible. She wasn't used to wealth, luxury, or the kind of people who discussed yachts and art collections like casual weather. And then it happened. Victoria, the bride, was rushing past the dessert table when her dress brushed against Emma's arm. She didn't notice at first, but Emma felt a sharp tug. Her sleeve tore under the pressure, the delicate fabric snagging against the seam. "I'm so sorry," Victoria gasped, spinning around. Her eyes met Emma's, wide and apologetic. But it wasn't just a casual apology. It was surrounded by tiny, delicate flowers, almost like it was meant to be noticed at the most unexpected moments. The guests, once murmuring and laughing, fell silent. Victoria's hand lingered near the tattoo as she said softly, "I love this. Truly, that's the kind of world I want to live in." Emma blinked, caught off guard. She had never imagined anyone like Victoria, rich, powerful, untouchable, would stop to notice something like her tattoo, something that represented her entire philosophy of life. The silence stretched, but it wasn't awkward. It was reverent. Something about the way Victoria smiled, without a trace of superiority, made the room feel smaller, warmer, more human. Then, without warning, Victoria stepped closer and did something no one expected. She held Emma's hands in hers. "I want you to be my guest today," she said. "Well, no more apron, no more standing in the shadows. You're part of this celebration now." Emma felt tears prick her eyes. She had come to work a shift, to do her job quietly, and go home. She hadn't expected this. Not recognition, not kindness, not a moment that made her feel seen. As the evening unfolded, Emma was invited to dance. She laughed with the guests, talked with Victoria's family, and even shared stories about her own struggles and dreams. The wedding, extravagant as it was, suddenly felt human. It felt alive. And somewhere deep inside, Emma realized something she had always known but seldom felt rewarded for. That small acts of kindness, smiles, apologies, noticing someone else, could change lives in ways that wealth and power never could. By the time the night ended, Victoria whispered to Emma, "You reminded me what matters most. Never stop sprinkling your kindness." Emma returned to her modest apartment later that night, her arm aching slightly from the torn sleeve, but her heart felt full in a way money could never buy. She knew one simple truth. It doesn't take a billionaire to change the world. Just one open heart is enough. And sometimes the smallest tattoo can silence a room and awaken the biggest truths. The following morning, Emma woke up with a quiet sense of wonder she couldn't shake. The wedding had ended, the guests had gone home, and the Whitmore estate was already returning to its usual grand but empty hush. Yet for Emma, something had shifted. She poured herself a cup of coffee and stared at her tattoo in the mirror. "Kindness is free. Sprinkle it everywhere." The words felt heavier now, filled with a meaning she hadn't fully understood until yesterday. One small moment of visibility, one simple acknowledgement from someone she never thought would notice her, had transformed her entire day and perhaps even her life. At the cafe where she worked, Emma noticed small changes too. A customer offered a smile she hadn't seen before. A colleague thanked her sincerely for helping without needing recognition. Even the tips seemed just a little more generous. Nothing huge, nothing dramatic, but enough to remind her that kindness had a ripple effect. Weeks later, a card arrived at the cafe. No return address, just Victoria Whitmore's elegant handwriting inside. "Keep spreading kindness. The world notices, even when you don't see it. V." Emma pressed the card to her chest and smiled, tears welling up again. It wasn't just about being noticed by someone rich or famous. It was about the realization that every small act, every smile, every gentle word carried weight. And in that truth, Emma found confidence, hope, and a quiet sense of purpose. From that day on, she carried herself differently. Not arrogantly, not boastfully, but with a soft awareness that her life, her choices, and even her small gestures mattered. And though she returned to her work, her apartment, her simple life, she did so, knowing that the human heart, open, kind, and generous, was its own kind of wealth. The tattoo on her arm had always been a statement. Now, It was a reminder of a moment when two very different lives intersected, when compassion bridged a gulf of class and circumstance, and when one small act of recognition became a quiet revolution of humanity. Emma didn't need the world to see her to make a difference. But sometimes when the world did notice, it reminded her, and everyone around her, of a simple truth. Kindness, when shared freely, can leave even the grandest halls in silence, filled only with wonder, and from that silence a new kind of joy always blooms.